From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Beres.
Nick Beres here on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. It's good to have you. We've got an interesting show on tap. I'm going to hope some of you want to call in and talk, because we're going to discuss what I believe to be a purely American tradition, which is fantastic. Every state, mostly counties, I guess there's city fairs, but I'm talking about state fairs, county fairs, and dare I say, here in Tennessee, we have, in my opinion, and I've lived all around the country, one of the very best county fairs, which is now affiliated with the state in the entire country. And I'm talking about the Wilson County Fair. Wilson County Fair is underway. It's fantastic. It runs through Saturday. How many of you have gone? Have you gone? Have you followed much of our coverage with it? We're going to share some photos with you here in just a moment of what has happened over the past week, which is pretty cool. But I can tell you right now, the fair has set attendance records, I think, for a variety of reasons. One, you know, it was 2 years ago. Last year was the first year. The state came to the Wilson County Fair Board and said, look, we'd like to integrate the state fair with the Wilson County Fair. And you're like, well, why that? There's fairs everywhere. The state used to have a state fair downtown Nashville. That one eventually just kind of faded away. And the state fair recognizes that Wilson County has a national reputation with Fiddler's Grove and everything else for having such a great fair. My main concern was, when this happened and the board agreed to it, was that somehow bringing the state fair into the mix would somehow damage what the Wilson County Fair has achieved all these years. And in my opinion, that has not happened. I think it has brought an influx of money. And if you've been out to the fairgrounds, you've seen a huge expansion and constant construction of new buildings and the like, which are really handy for the fair and for other events year-round. I think it's also increased, the draw. People are coming. Well, that's not only just the Wilson County Fair, it's the state fair, though, frankly, people were, in my opinion, before this ever happened, Wilson County was the state fair. It was the best, the biggest, and there's some other good fairs, don't get me wrong. But if you go to all of them and you check it out, if you're unbiased, and I've been to a bunch, and I think they're all terrific, Wilson County's the best. I mean, because of Fiddler's Grove, the size of it, everything else they have, and the location. Anyway, the attendance figures set this past Saturday, the highest Saturday ever in the history of the fair. 133,000 people showed up. And since then, it's continued, and I think in large measure because we've had some really, really good weather over this past week, which that ties in. But the fair has just been great, and it's all about, celebrating the 95 counties in the state, representation from all around. Have you been there? I don't know. Let me just share my personal experience. When it comes to the fair, my wife and I have been going for years. We went with her when she was pregnant with my son more than 20 years ago, and she had a craving for ices or snow cones. And so we would go, and that's where it all started. My son went through the years to the fair, and our tradition now is, we go every year, but we try to get there the very first Thursday when it opens, and we show up a little before the gates open, and we get in there, and we walk around kind of like right at the beginning to check it all out. But of course, for her especially, me too, we just love the fair food once a year. And I'm talking corn dogs, and talking about fair food, we're sharing a few pictures. It's been my honor to be asked to judge a bunch of events, and this is the first year that they had a banana tasting pudding contest, or banana pudding tasting contest. And there I am judging. It looks like casseroles. There were about 30 banana puddings entered from around the state. And it's weird to me. If you think country county fair, you'd think banana pudding would have been one of the things they've judged for years. No, this is the first. I mean, they have cornbread judging, they have pie judging, they have barbecue judging. This is the first, and I thought it was perfect, and it's going to become a regular event. But there it is, judging it, and there was the winner out of the 30 entries. And I've got to double check her name. I had it written down, and I ran up here. But there were so many entries, a bunch of people, and it turns out the winning one, and it was blind judging, we didn't know who it was this sweet older woman who entered. She is 90 years old. Her recipe was tried and true. The three judges, all of them were good. We all agreed, wow, whoever made this one's terrific. And it just worked out perfect. I mean, I'm happy for anyone that wins. You could just tell how tickled she was when she came up and was awarded the ribbon for Best Banana Pudding in the state. And you can say that because you've won the competition. at the state fair. All right, so I said other things that I've done at the fair this week. Like I said, call me if you need me to judge a barbecue contest or anything along those lines. We've got some other photos you can just throw up there if you'd like as we go through this. And just talking about the fair, I was going to ask you too, the viewer, if you haven't been, you've probably been to a fair sometime in your life before, but what is your focus at the fair? Is it the rides? It's amazing how you get older and you've been going a period of time. You evolve out of the fair midway. It's still great walking down to the midway. It's just like lights and glitz and these rides and the noise, and especially a lot of the youngsters that are there. I can't handle, even if I wanted to, a lot of those rides anymore, the roller coasters and the like. But what do you like, all right? The number on the screen, 737-7587. First question to you, all right, do you go to the midway? Do you ride the rides? If you're like me, if it's a spinning ride, forget it. Not doing it, don't feel like throwing up. All right, is it the food? For me, that's pretty much the top of the list. And if it is the food, what do you like? All right, I mean, there's cake by the slice. There's corn dogs. This guy makes these corn dogs there where he dips them and cooks them right there on the spot. And they're just awesome. I know they're not great for me, but I love them. Corn dogs. There's the sausage sandwiches. There's the funnel cakes. There's the potato that they fry. What else? What do you like? There's the lemon shake-ups. You know, what I haven't seen, and I think maybe some of the larger booths may have it, used to be that cotton candy was much bigger and they'd have it and they'd be making it, there'd be booths where they're making it and hand it to you fresh, which is pretty cool. But I didn't see a lot of cotton candy. There's snow cones. So is the food something that you go for? All right, what else do you have to choose from? The, I guess, poultry barn and the ducks and all that. I love walking through looking at the chickens. You know, I've got 2 chickens, Thelma and Louise, and I think I'm going to buy another one before the end of the year or before the end of the fair from one of the 4-H folks. These 4-H kids do a fantastic job. They take care of these chickens, they enter them, they win ribbons, and then they make some money selling them. I like to buy chickens from them. But I love going through the poultry barn, the chicken barn. I was looking hard at buying this just incredibly colorful rooster named Jagger, after Mick Jagger. I really wanted it, and then I was reminded that they wake you up in the morning at the crack of dawn. And so I'm out on roosters. But then, okay, so I'm throwing that. The livestock barn, do you enjoy doing that? I love going in there and looking at the cows, the pigs. They'll bring some of them in that are giving birth. You can go to the birthing barn. I think that's awesome. What else do you like? Fiddler's Grove is one of the things that makes the Wilson County Fair unique. It's like an old pioneer village. You can walk through there and they have all kinds of arts and crafts. Homemade soap. They've got bluegrass music bands playing. You see them making cinnamon brooms and others. I mean, I think sometimes they'll have a horse out there grinding sugar cane, which they'll use to make, I think, sorghum molasses. That's the kind of stuff that's old school, and I just love it. So that you have that as an option as well. You have the parade, you have the pig races, you have a demolition derby, you have a ventriloquist who's terrific. I had done a story with him a long time ago that works there. And then it's just fun going through and looking at all, I think, of the agricultural stuff. You walk through some of the convention halls there, and they've got, you know, the biggest zucchini, and you have the prize-winning tomatoes and the prize-winning okras, and really the coolest part, I think, in there sometimes are the baked goods, the cakes. This year there was an entry, and I'm not sure if I think I posted it to my Facebook, Nick Beres NC5. This guy's an incredible baker. There's an entry of a giant horse's head. It looks like a sculpture, and then you look closer and you realize it's a cake. And it won first prize, but I mean, there's just this, I mean, it's so well done. And then cookies and everything like that. My wife's trying to figure out how she can be a judge for the cookie. And as I go through this, I'm going to get some calls from you about what you like about state fairs. And we may be joined by a guest before the end of the show to talk about what's left with the fair, which runs through Saturday. But one of the exhibits that I love and will always be close to me is the beekeeping exhibit put on by the Wilson County Beekeeping Association. I remember going in there back in the early 2000s and just being amazed, watching the bees. They do such a great job with this exhibit. And I ended up back then signing up. They had a class you could take. It's free, and you could go to their Wilson County beekeeping meetings and learn how to beekeep. That was in 2005. My neighbor Jimmy Barkley and I set up our own beehives, and since then I've been a beekeeper. To this day I have a beehive behind my property in Lebanon, but I still have a jar of honey on my pantry shelf from 2006 that I harvested, and it's perfect and pristine. One thing you got to learn about honey, among other things, is as long as it doesn't get contaminated, you know, with outside things, it never, ever goes bad. And this jar, I will keep it forever, is from our first harvest in 2006. But the Beekeeping Association, still to this day, if you go there, has a sign-up list. Now, it's evolved. It's gotten bigger and more popular. And so they do charge a modest fee to go through a training. But if you go to the Wilson County Beekeeping Association training program, and I don't know, it's $25 for the class, which is just well worth it, I guarantee you will be able to be a beekeeper, and they will help you, walk you through the process, find the best way for you to buy what you need at an affordable price. And beekeeping is a great thing you can do for the environment, and let's face it, everyone likes fresh honey. So that's some of it. The Wilson County Fair has been a big part of my life for so long, and my family's life. We wanted to talk a little bit more about that this morning. So we'll take a break. The phone lines are open. Tell me about what you like about the fair. 737-7587 if you've been there or not. And then we'll take some of your calls if you're on hold. Lines are open. Jump in. Tell me if you've entered, if you won a ribbon. I'm going to tell you about a ribbon I won a few years back when we come back from this break after this.